Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1365 of our daily content grind. Now, if you've been used to the way we've been doing things lately, you might have expected a random review today. Well, surprise, something else dropped. So, I'll still be doing a random review tomorrow. It's going to be the new Skybite toy, just to let you know. But today, because we had an interview drop, we're going to focus on that because there's a lot of interesting tidbits that we can get out of this. And it's one of those things that's got so much going on, I can't save it for the news roundup on Monday or it's going to get overloaded. So, this is an interview with Maher from the Transformer design team. And he let us in on a lot of stuff that's been going on. There's a huge list of questions that TFW sent him. He sent back in his responses. So we can kind of comb through it and start figuring out things for all these upcoming toys. Now, obviously, he doesn't address leaks, but he does give us ideas of directions that they're going to be going in. Now, I'm going to try very hard not to focus on every single question. We'll be kind of skipping through some that I don't think are as interesting, and I'll be as brief as I can with my own thoughts, because otherwise this is going to be another 40-50 minute video, and you don't need that right now. So, the very first question right off the top of the bat is, what is up with doing an eventual Primus? Which is to say, like, he doesn't mind the idea of Primus being smaller than Unicron, because he likes the heroes being outmatched. So it sounds like they might be open to the idea of Primus as a Titan class toy, rather than a gigantic Haslab. I'm of the mindset of it's so different. So, like in the Unicron trilogy, it's true. Primus is a little bit smaller. In the G1, Unicron is small enough to stand on the surface of Cybertron. So Primus is obviously way bigger there, if he could ever transform. I, at this point, don't really mind. I am firmly of the mindset of if they tried to do Primus as a Haslab, it would be way too expensive for a character that really does not have the appeal of Unicron. And even Unicron barely made it over the funding goal. So, you know what? I'm kind of okay with a Titan class Primus at like the 2-foot scale, provided there's a Unicron to go with it, because I think it's high time we had a affordable Unicron for fans to get into. He also mentions that any of the other 13 as Titans or Commanders, and apparently, originally, the 13th Prime was supposed to be a Voyager scale. They settled on the smaller Titan after a little bit, and after they decided they liked the idea of going across all the size scales, which, okay, fine. We also mentioned that Liege Maximo is not only a leader class. We knew that from the leak listings, because this was all sent in and interviewed earlier, before all the leaks happened. What he does let on is that it is absolutely the G2 comic book design that we're going with, not the Covenant design. That's going to be an interesting toy, because that's a very weird design. We also have like the decision to make Age of the Primes a 2-year toy line, because they wanted it to be a fan experience first. Instead of stretching out the 13 Primes for 3 years, they decided to just make a 2-year toy line, so you can just get all of your Primes in like a more tidy fashion, which I appreciate. I really do, because you know that speeds things up. It would suck, like, it sucks having to wait 3 years to complete a set of things. So good on them. I do enjoy that. Here was one of the best bits. We were under the assumption, somehow the fandom got it into its head, that the 13 Primes were not meant for repaints or retools, because they didn't want it to cheapen them. They wanted them to be some kind of special experience. Mark has confirmed that's not the case. You know, if people actually want these retools or repaints, why wouldn't we consider it? So, yeah, that's super appealing. And that immediately gives me a lot of ideas. Now that we are aware that the Primes are up for retooling and repainting, we are absolutely going to be doing a video probably next week, and I'm probably just going to try recasting all of the 13 Primes as another Transformer, or as a suitable repaint, like the most likely reuse of the 13. That's probably somewhere along the lines I'm thinking, I've already got a dozen ideas in my head, which is bad because I need 13 of them. But it was nice of them to dispel that. Yeah, they also mentioned that like exclusive slots are giving them the opportunity for like a Logos or Sentinel Prime. We do know there is a Sentinel in the exclusives. Logos is a weird one to mention because he's based on Cybertron's Soundwave. And if they're doing a brand new noise maze, Cybertron Sideways, it would make sense to get a Soundwave to go with him, but that seems so weird to randomly make when there's so many other Cybertron toys they haven't done yet. That's fascinating to me. Okay, they mentioned how to do Skybound toys, which would be to just do actual sculpted damage rather than deco treatment. That's great to hear. We're also talking about, they also talked about if Lugnut is in more consideration because he won the Hall of Fame vote. And then basically all we really got was if Lugnut is made, he'd be a leader class toy. That's about it. More selects cartoon redecos. Yeah, why not? That's typical answer, not terribly special. Again, said like, yeah, why not a Super Megs? A lot of that is just like dismissive answers of like what we used to say confirm or deny, and now it's mostly just like, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, sure, why not? Is it possible you can see more Commanders and Titans per year? Which we know we're getting two Commanders next year. That's kind of exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, lately we have been. They've just been like one per line. Now we're getting two Generations ones at the same time. Let's see. There is something of a there is some intention behind the Titans and Commanders alternating factions, which that's interesting to know. Talking up Titans a little bit, but not really going through like the numbers on them to know if like Star Optimus Prime's smaller price points gone over well yet or not. See, if you made the rest of the DJD, could you just change your alt modes to get them through? I mean, you could, but I know how passionate fans are about accuracy. The DJD come up a lot. I mean, obviously, when we do a Tarn toy, people are going to ask for the rest of the DJD. Yeah, releasing electric chairs and robot grinders as toys at retail is a little bit weird. Also, you have some that would have to be leader or commander size in order to scale with Tarn correctly. And those are extremely obscure characters to release at those price points. And also, no repaint or retool options available. It's a very tricky set. It's a very difficult set to imagine doing. Yeah, they would have to redo their alt modes to get them across and like put them out on the toy shelf. I think that would depend on how good the robot modes look, honestly. See, they did mention Transformers Animated Omega Supreme as a Titan or a Haslab, and he says he would rather it be a Titan, and they were going to partial it off of the Arc, but that wasn't close enough for them, so they changed gears. I know a lot of people speculated the Arc would be retooled into Omega. I'm glad they went away from that. Still interested in making the toy-only characters like Polar Claw, but it's just a challenge to fit everything in. The priority, obviously, is going to be on the bigger nostalgia pulls, like the ones who are in the cartoon, completing the G1 cast, etc. So I can understand that, but I still want a new Polar Claw. Let's see, plans for the Beast Wars anniversary next year. He would like ones that are more obscure, like Injector, and the less obscure ones like Depth Charge. The back metal metallics are a challenge in production nowadays. Still scratching my head on those. We have been screaming at Hasbro for so long about transmetals. We don't need the chrome. We don't need vac metal. Just make the toys before the budget on them is too crunched to do everything transmetals need to do, right? Because I still like my Rat Trap to turn into that little buggy, the little roadster of his. And I'm worried that if we take too long to do this, like that's going to be too expensive to do. Look, metallic paint, and if metallic paint's too expensive, honestly, We don't care. I'm gonna be honest with you. You did Transmetal 2 Megatron and Tigerhawk. No one cared that there was not chrome on them. Just make the toys. Just make those characters. We care about the designs and the looks. We don't necessarily, the actual, like, not like, we care about the image of the character as far as looks goes. I think everyone at this point would be fine just having bare plastic transmetals if it meant we actually get transmetals. Let's see, any kind of exclusive line for the Beast Wars anniversary, we will see. So they're just being tight-lipped about what they're doing for the anniversary next year. Possible, a more accurate and in-scale RID Scourge. Ever since Velocitron, we've been asking for this because that was a very bad attempt at the character. Difficult fitting everything together. Yeah, but he doesn't see why it couldn't happen. See, everyone seems to want the new Bruticus repainted into Ruination. That seems like it's an obvious thing that they will eventually do. More interested, still interested in doing a more accurate G2 Megatron. I feel like there's an opportunity for that coming up. And I don't mean a repaint of the 86 Megatron. Like, proper, like, tank chest Megatron needs to happen at some point. See, do you want to make Armada Jetfire, and what size class would he be? Then he'd have to be a commander. That doesn't surprise me with the engineering that would have to go into it in order to combine to Prime. Obviously, he's smaller than Prime. That's my only issue with making him a commander class. You could bulk him out by throwing in a few minicons. Just saying. But the issue with him, like, becoming a whole set of legs, but also being an independent transformer, that does create a lot of difficult engineering. So that doesn't surprise me that they would have to be a commander. In my head, like, leader at most, because he's not supposed to be a gigantic character, but I don't know, it's going to be what it has to be, I guess. But they have it in mind. Hasui-san wants to do Jetfire, and they need to, like, hurry up and get on that, because, like, Armada Optimus is starting to get some age on him, and I don't see a re-release of that toy anywhere on the books, so we need to kind of get a move on there. He dodges this question. Interested in doing Beast Machines or Energon updates? No, he's interested in doing Machine Wars updates. I find Machine Wars to be a very boring series. I understand there's a lot of nostalgia for it for some certain collectors, but frankly, I think the decos are boring and the characters are nonsensical. But, whatever. I would much rather have Energon and Beast Machines. I think he's just trying to obfuscate the question there, because Energon and Beast Machines are not well-remembered series, even though some of the toys were really good. Terracon Cliffjumper is something you're interested in doing. He just pitched it, which would not surprise me, because that Cliffjumper did turn out pretty good. Another Galvatron release with more paint, retooled parts. They're saying right now, no. He would rather do a different Galvatron design under a smaller size scale. Interesting. But the last Galvatron they did for 86, like, that satisfied his needs. And it is a decent. It's the best version we've gotten so far. Will more Pretender updates happen? That's the tricky one. So he does acknowledge that it was a mixed reaction when they tried to combine the shell and the inner robots. I like that solution. I just think that some of the ones they put out weren't really all that satisfying at doing it. I mean, I don't think it's such a problem of, like, combining the shell and the vehicle. Like, I think the shells are way more memorable than the inner robots, but they would have to transform into something, would be the inner robot's vehicle. To split the difference there, I think, is the best solution without having to come up with a whole new idea for how to make the armor work. But, yeah, like, it feels like it feels like it was more along the lines of, well, the toys you did based on that concept just weren't all that good, Yeah, but they still have ideas, but again, trying to fit them in. Here's the one that I know a lot of people have asked me in the Q&As. He does want to do G1-ified versions of movie characters. So If Generations wanted to expand that way into more like smoothed out and refined movie style designs, that would be the idea. And I would like that too. He would like that too. Are all the new combiners going to have the frames? Now, most of this, there's no real answer to this. It's mostly just a justification of what's going on. The framework that some don't like is what's allowing the combiner to have all the level of articulation of any of the other modern Transformers. The waist articulation, the ankle tilts, the deep knees and elbows, all of that is coming because the framework allows them to have these big sturdy joints built into the combiner rather than depending on things that have to fit within the budget of Deluxes and Voyagers at smaller size scales. So I can absolutely understand what the direction was and why they went the way they went with those combiners. I don't mind the frames at all. I think the frames are a good solution to the combiner problem, because like Combiner Wars had a lot of issues when it came to its articulation levels. This is, for the most part, doing a good job of fixing them. No reason to go away from it. We do know from the leaked listings there are some, like, it looks like Bruticus is on his way to not having a full frame system like the others. So I think the answer here is actually, yes, there will be other combiners that don't have the full frame, but still, it's a system that I think works for everything, all the necessities, everything it needs. So I think they're happy with it as is. Mentioned they're interested in doing a new Predaking. I still defend that Power of the Prime one. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people give it flack for. No thoughts about Micromaster combiners. Also, no real desire to do anything mainline Raiden, which doesn't surprise me. Interested in doing made to order, which is what Marvel has been doing for releases, and I think made to order does have a place, but it has to be for the less desirable, the things that are niche for the fandom. Things like anything Diaclone. You know, like, I think that's a perfect place for like a Diaclone Ultra Magnus in the Delta Magnus color scheme. I think that's a perfect place for a release like that. Like, here's a 60-day window. Here's the price. Everyone who buys it will get it. Just call it a day there. Like, and that way you don't have, like, because I mentioned Diaclone because that always seems to end up on the clearance aisle, because it's just not a well-known source of nostalgia for fans. It's more just like a niche collector's thing. And that's what I think made to order should be for. Should be for those like niche things that just wouldn't fit into any other line. He mentions he wants the Evergreen Barricade design, which I do like that design. The interesting question. So, will there be Cyber World toys for older collectors like the Earthspark Deluxes? And he does not know. He doesn't have info on the future plans, though he did do work on the Megatron Bull and the Skybite car. That does tell me that while they're involved in the engineering process of the Cyber World toys, we do know that there are multiple Hasbro teams that handle Transformers. There's like an LA team that handled like the lower end stuff for Rise of the Beasts. That seems to be the situation here, where there's multiple teams that aren't quite communicating with each other. So he doesn't know exactly what they are planning for Cyber World. Makes sense in a way, but also it would be nice if, the Transformer team had, someone who knew everything that was going on. Because this seems like there's a figurehead here that we don't have contact with, and that's hurting us. Might also explain why the gimmick lines have such a weird direction compared to like the main lines. Could core class? See, hang on. Where'd I leave off? You want more Izers in the future? He would like to do them out of Insecticons. I'm not huge on that idea. I think we've moved beyond the Izers at this point. Could core class returns? It's on the table. They would have to do way better with core class, because honestly, like, I don't think you got what you paid for with those toys. Mentions the idea of doing it as 2-pack deluxes, and I don't think that would work. I would need if you're going to 2-pack them as deluxes, I would need something else thrown in to make it feel like it's still worth the price point. Like, I would need some kind of accessory or something. 2 cores sold for a $25 deluxe, that still does not work for me. See. Is there interest in doing weapon accessory packs? Yes. Flight stands, blast effects as well. Getting them out, obviously, is a difficult thing. Future timelines figures based on... yeah, just stay tuned for the timeline figures. Those are being closely guarded. Is asking what other kind of Japan crossovers he would want, and he says Orgris, which honestly, I don't even know Orgris. He went with something obscure. Would Transtech or Reactivate be things he'd be interested in doing as concept art figures? And yeah, he's down for that. I would love for some of those Transtech designs to get out there. What other Hearts of Steel figures would you like to do? Shockwave. I think everyone is down for that, because that's a really cool design. And the Hot Wheels collabs look sick. Is there more of those in addition to those two? Do you want more? That is actually... We've seen where the collaboratives, if they do well, they do seem to be able to go for a round 2. They did that with the Jurassic Park set, even though that didn't seem all that popular, but apparently Mattel was cool with them doing a second set. We've seen it very rarely, where like the collabs do well enough that they can re-up the license or put something else out before the original license expires. So if they've got the license to do Hot Wheels toys, yeah, there is room for more, I would assume. And yeah, I'm sure they would love their chance to do that. We're blaming Evan for all the Japanese Transformers that are in Haslab. Okay, good to know someone's to blame. What would you like to do? He wants a life-size working blaster with real cassette tapes to transform. I think that's a little beyond the scope here. I don't think that's the spirit of Haslab. Any intention of either a Haslab Unicron reissue or a whole new Unicron for the anniversary? He'd love to revisit it. It's not really in the cards yet, because it broke their designer the first time, which probably has ended up... That's probably why he ended up with so many shells transformed. It's like just a designer trying to figure the entire thing out at that size and just go, screw it! Panels! Shell! We're obviously going to see some type of Unicron down the line, because it's been a long time since we got a Unicron at retail levels, so it wouldn't surprise me in the least if we got something eventually. The Lyle Kaiser Rescue Force repaint was mentioned, and that's interesting because we still have yet to see a repaint of a Haslab, or how they would even get away with releasing that. I think they do want to keep the Haslab special. You know, there's nothing special about a set that eventually comes out later, and they want it to be special to drive people to order during that month and a half. So I understand that. Though I would love to see some of these recent ones repainted and released, and like, there's your made to order. Like, hey, we've already made the molds for RID Optimus. After we fix it, how would you like a made to order Splendid Yellow Convoy run? I'd be okay with that. Is there a reason why Lyle Kaiser was released under Legacy and not Age of the Primes? It's mostly just brand consistency with the other Haslabs, because a bunch of them were released under Legacy. Okay, that's understandable. I'm imagining that if they veer away from Japanese G1 for the next one, that would be Age of the Primes, or maybe even just generally Generations. It doesn't have to be under like a current toy line. See, we did mention, they also asked, like, are you still going to do live streams? Because they have slowed down a lot, and they are going to be continuing them. It's just a matter of getting, it's just a matter of like timing and all the way. We'll get those eventually too. Like, yeah, there's a slowdown lately, but there's a lot of reasons why the toy industry slowed down right now. And for the one figure he would like to make, Thunderwing. I think Thunderwing's way overdue. Thunderwing is way overdue. So there's your Q&A. And this is my brief little thoughts on everything. There's a lot to glean from this, especially when you combine it with that leak list that we just looked at. There's a lot that's going on in Transformers, and we can't see a lot of it, but between the two, you get an idea of the direction. It's an exciting time. Like, they're obviously got a lot of stuff in the works that they can't tell us about. And I really appreciate that the guys on the Transformer team right now are approachable, you know, like, because there's a lot of times in the past where I feel like the people who are running it, like John Warden, did not feel like someone I could just, you know, send a message to on Instagram and get a response, you know? So it is nice to have that direct access and like the honesty from the team. So, you know, because it does tell us like they do care about this. They are trying, you know, they're doing their best. So there's the interview. There's everything. Obviously, I skimmed through a lot of this, so the full thing is up at TFW if you want to read the details for yourself. And those are just my thoughts for the day. So thank you everyone for watching. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.